Olá, minhas pequenas salvadoras, eu sou o White Pumpkin e sejam bem-vindos a mais um vídeo, dessa vez com o nosso querido arco de Fontaine. Recentemente nós finalizamos o ato 1 e 2 dessa querida e maravilhosa nação. Embora já tenha os atos 3 e 4 disponíveis, primeiramente a gente vai fazer na ordem, né? A gente vai estar fazendo a missão lendária do Lyney. Se você não assistiu nenhum episódio dessa linda e maravilhosa série, clica no cardzinho que está aparecendo agora no canto direito da tela e vai lá assistir. Aproveita, se você é novo aqui no canal, já aproveita, se inscreve e ativa o sininho para não perder nenhuma notificação. Deixa um like e um comentário, porque isso ajuda muito, vai lá, não custa nada, dá essa forcinha pra gente. Eu tô me esforçando ao máximo para trazer os vídeos mais bem elaborados possíveis para vocês. E bem, sem muitas delongas, bora pra missão lendária de Lyney. Bem, cá estamos nós, chegando na Ópera Epic Class, e vamos aproveitar e já desbloquear aqui a missãozinha lendária dele. Ok. Já começamos com cara de palhaço que a missão começa lá. Dá ré, Fane. Volta, é lá que é a minha missão.
I see. So you believe that this warning letter was sent by the Phantom Weasel?
Absolutely. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Phantom Weasel never acts as you expect. He must have faked his own death 10 years ago using a body double. Now that he's back, I'm sure the guards who worked on his case back in the day are in for a headache, but however this turns out in the end, the one thing it won't be is boring.
Couldn't agree more. As a journalist, I'm gonna get a lot of mileage out of this one. Thank you, sir, for your time. Now, whom should I interview next? Huh? Hey! What a coincidence! Fancy meeting you here.
O marcador da quest tava aqui.
Perfect timing. So, the Phantom Weasel's latest warning letter. What are
Quem é
your
essa tal de Doninha, moça? Eu tenho cara de Doninha.
Yeah, this is the first time we're hearing of this.
Huh? Oh, sorry. Yes, this case is from a decade ago. I guess you wouldn't know
Tô
about
aqui
it.
nem há 3 anos.
Well,
Quem dirá
not
uma
to worry.
década.
You're in good hands because I'm a professional. The story goes like this. 10 or so years ago, a phantom thief became active in the court of Fontaine, known only as the Weasel. No,
Wow, cool! He sounds like one of those.
precisely. Well, except the part where they actually have a good reputation. Our Weasel targeted whatever people held dear, and no one was safe from his predations. He would just as soon steal a necklace from a rich merchant's safe as he would a toy doll given to a commoner child for their birthday.
Pessoa estranha.
I know. The phantom thieves you read about in novels rob the rich to pay the poor, but this guy did not discriminate. Unsurprisingly, this didn't work wonders for his public reputation. Every man and his dog wanted to see him behind bars.
Se eu roubasse a boneca de alguém, eu também ia querer ser preso. Não, pera. Se alguém roubasse a boneca de uma criança, eu também queria essa pessoa presa.
Exactly. There's a good chance that the Weasel would still be at large to this day if it hadn't been for an accident 10 years ago. A
Vixe.
magician named Caesar fell to his death in a botched high-altitude escape performance. When the police went through his personal effects, they found a hoard of stolen loot and gadgets used for criminal activities.
Será que era ela mesmo?
Eu
acho que não teria como ser o Lyney. Ou teria. Eu acho que teria. 10 anos atrás depende. Eu acho que dá pra ser o Lyney. Olha o Lyney ali no fundo. Falando no diabo.
And pasted it on the gate of the Opera Epiclese for all to see. I had to squeeze through the crowd this morning to get a photo as soon as I heard. Here, it's this.
Pode ter sido feito por qualquer um, né?
So, this is the warning letter, huh? What's 3 days from now, when evening falls, I shall take from you that which you hold most dear at the opera house.
This is, without a doubt, a clear declaration of criminal intent. After years of laying low, what once seemed like an open and shut case has been blown wide open again. But why has he re-emerged now? And what does he want? I sense an epic scoop, and I'm going for it.
Uh-oh. If this thief will steal anything that other people value, does that mean even we
Ele pode
might
roubar
be
seus
kind
lanches, Paimon. Ele pode tentar pegar você. Não, vai ser os lanches mesmo.
Really? Oh, let him try. If that, I'm gonna eat all her snacks right now. Let's see what he can do about that.
Não, senão eu vou ter que pagar mais comida pra você.
It's clear that the public are very concerned learned about the Phantom Weasel's Let's see, I've got a photo of the letter, my interview notes. Yep, that should be enough to form the skeleton of my article. It does feel like something is missing, though. Something exclusive. Who should I interview next? I need someone with a more concrete connection to the Weasel. Is that who I think it is?
Não. Você está louca, é uma alucinação. Você não está vendo Lyney.
Lyney!
Como eu sei que você está vendo Lyney, eu também estou alucinando. Parece que ele está fazendo uns truques de mágica.
Caesar! The Phantom Weasel! That's it! Let's go interview Lyney!
Coitado, só porque ele é mágico e fatua
You
e...
see, the original Phantom Thief Caesar was a magician too! And what do Phantom Thieves and magicians have in common? They both have an air of...
Ele não é ladrão, embora ele tenha roubado meu coração, mas fora isso, ele é inocente.
Oh, relax! My journalistic instinct tells me that an exclusive news story is beckoning. Let's go! No time for...
Ele desapareceu nesse exato momento. O ladrão esquecido. Genshin, um jogo extremamente imersivo, como vocês podem ver.
Wow, Mr. Magician! How did you know which card I picked?
Oh, it's simple. Come closer and I'll let you in on my secret. Magicians have a special skill called telepathy.
Really? Then... what...
Well, first you need to relax. Because I can see that you're clenching your fist in your mind, as if to say, no, I mustn't let him guess it.
Aww.
And now you're getting a little flustered. You're trying to find a way to empty your mind, to think of nothing at all. But the more you try to... You snuck out from home today, didn't you? You told your family a little lie so you could come out and play. Now, that's not a good habit.
You can tell? Oh boy. You really can read my mind.
Of course. Oh, and that's the end of my performance. You should really be heading home. Remember to apologize to your family, all
Ele
right?
seria um bom pai.
They must be worried about you.
Não é à toa que assim que certa pessoa for de base, ele vai virar o dono da lareira.
Hey!
Why, hello. We meet again. Are you looking for me? What's the situation?
Well, why don't you guess?
Oh, please. You didn't believe that spiel, did you? The power...
I'm sure that child would beg to differ. Seemed like you were right on the money.
That was nothing more than a little trickery. I made an educated guess based on his micro-expression. That, plus the fact that he was the only kid here without his parents, and he looked as guilty as sin. You guys, on the other hand... Let me guess. Don't tell me you're here for the Phantom Weasel, are you?
Não, é porque eu tava a fim de ver mesmo, mas essa que me arrastou.
Is this more of your trickery at work?
Wait, really? No trick. His warning letter's been the talk of the town, so I figured that maybe you were asking...
Bingo! I plan on writing a column reporting on the... So, Lyney, what are your thoughts on this infamous thief?
To be honest, it makes me angry.
A música de fundo cortou.
Why?
You read his letter, right? The Phantom Weasel claims he's planning something in 3 nights' time at the Opera House. That's the night I'll be performing there.
What are the chances?
Ele é a doninha.
Wait a minute, you don't think he's after you, do you?
Você é uma pamonha, Paimon. Você é uma Paimon.
Well, if he is, then his warning is clearly a direct challenge to me personally. And if he's not, then it's still going to be a huge headache for me.
É a apresentação dele, gente.
So once the contents of that letter get out, barely anyone will be showing up to watch my show. But I've been preparing for this for a long time. I'm not about to let him ruin my big day. This leaves me with only one choice. I have to expose the Phantom Weasel's identity before the show begins.
Really? So what you're saying is, we might get to see a live duel between a famous magician and an infamous thief? Wow.
Quando é que a Charlotte lança, eu quero ela pra
To
mim.
be honest, I'm not sure if I'll emerge the victor. The Phantom Weasel is a notorious crook, infamous for his inscrutable methods.
You're being far too modest, Lyney. I think your magic tricks are even more inscrutable than those of—
Thanks for the compliment, though I have to say I don't care much for the comparison. A lot of people liken magicians to thieves because we both have the ability to make things disappear without the person noticing. But there's an important difference that these people overlook. Allow me to demonstrate with a quick magic trick. Here, I have a flower, just an ordinary flower that was picked not long ago. Watch it carefully now. 3, 2, 1.
It's gone!
Onde ela foi?
That's the question. Where did it go? Therein lies the difference between us. Thieves make precious things disappear, but only magicians make them reappear. If I could now invite you all to check your clothes, there...
A surprise? It's right there! But how? You haven't moved this whole time!
What an outstanding trick! Sorry, Lyney, it seems that my previous praise was woefully inadequate.
Don't worry, I didn't take offense. I just wanted to take the opportunity to perhaps change some of the... Since Caesar's death, a lot of people associate magicians with criminality. It can be quite frustrating.
I can imagine. Coming back to your trick just now, might I presume that you are well versed in floral symbolism? For example, magicians often use rainbow roses in their flower-related performances to represent passion and romantic encounters. But you used a Lumidu spell, which, if I'm not mistaken, allude to separations. I'm curious to know if there was any deeper meaning behind this choice.
Impressive knowledge. It's no wonder you're such a successful journalist. But I'm afraid I don't know the first thing about floral symbolism. I'm just in the habit of using Lumidu spells in my magic.
Mas bateu bem comigo e meu irmão.
I'll buy myself a copy of Fontaine's Floral Language Facts when I have some time. But
Well noted. In that case, this brings us to the end of our interview. Please feel free to get in touch to update me on any further developments. Otherwise, I will of course see you at your show in 3 days' time. But let's hope the Phantom wins. If there's nothing else, I'll be off. You've given me lots to work with here, and I've got no time to lose if I want to write that exclusive...
So, Lyney, are you gonna tell us how you did that flower trick now?
I'm afraid that's my little secret.
Aww. Well, magicians are entitled to their secret. You feel it too, right? So
Eu gostaria.
itchy.
Você tem certeza que vai conseguir lidar com ele?
Not so itchy then, huh? Well, since you're so concerned, how would you like to serve?
Magician's assistants? Oh, that sounds fun! Assistants are technically magicians. Also, it'll bring us one step closer to figuring out how that darn trick is done. Shall we go for it?
Qual é o seu plano?
The first thing we need to look into is who Caesar really was. If he truly was the Phantom. But if he wasn't the Weasel? Well, that'll make things more interesting. And if we're investigating Caesar, his fiancée Gemma is a good place to start. Word is that she visits the cemetery often. We should make a move.
Bora lá.
Surprise!
Que, gente, enterro? Quem morreu? A última vez que eu vim aqui não teve uma situação muito legal, não.
You took your time.
Culpa dele.
Sorry, I bumped into the Traveler and Charlotte en route, and we ended up chatting for a while.
It's been a
Ele
while,
me deu uma
Lyney.
cantada.
We're working as Lyney's temporary assistants in the investigation of the Phantom Weasel.
Thank you. It's good to have you helping.
So, what's the situation? Have you seen Gemma?
Nope.
Não, mas
I've
é a
been here a
Clara,
while,
você viu ela
and she
também?
still hasn't shown up.
How bizarre. Maybe it was bad intel. Well, we won't get anywhere by standing around waiting. Traveler, Paimon, let's go ask around.
Baltazar. Oi, Baltazar.
Excuse me, good sir. Do you
Gemma? You mean Caesar's fiance?
I'm just trying to get a hold of her because I need her help with something.
Yeah, she does. Poor thing. Ever since Caesar passed away, she's been coming here once every week to clean his grave. Often, she just sits there in front of his headstone. I asked her what she was doing once. She said she wanted to speak to him. She knows he's gone and can't hear her from the grave, but
She just likes to spend time there, telling her fiancé all about how her life is.
And she's been doing this ever since Caesar passed away? Oh, so 10 years.
10 anos,
I'll
semana
bet.
após semana.
Caesar's reputation fell apart after his identity was revealed, so no one else visits his grave. If I'm honest, I think this is all so unfair to poor Gemma. Her fiancé was a low-life crook. He doesn't deserve someone like her. Anyway, all of that said, she's running later than usual today. Normally, she'd be sitting in front of his grave by now. Well, that's everything I know, I'm afraid.
All right, well, thanks for sharing all of this with...
You're welcome.
Ok, então ela já não tá nem aqui, né? Pra variar um pouco. Não tem que falar com eles mesmo? Gracia e Juliano, por que vocês estão tocando as pontas dos seus dedos? As pontas
Did you
dos
hear the
dedos
news?
deles
They're
assim.
saying the Phantom Weasel's back.
Oh,
You're
não.
kidding. Wait, isn't he dead?
Não sei.
I don't know anymore. All sorts of news flying around nowadays. But what if? Just hypothetically, I mean. What if this weasel's the real deep...
Called it. Seriously, 10 years ago, on the day it all went down, I said to myself, you know what? This guy's been set up. The Caesar I knew was a good guy. He gave balloons to children on the street, for Pete's sake. What, are we supposed to believe that he was a balloon thief or something? Give me a break.
Oh, please. Weren't you the one cursing his name to high heaven when the police announced the news? You were all, oh, that gosh darn lousy son of a... you think you know a guy.
Meu Deus.
Words to that effect.
The son of
Wait,
a...
did I say that? I don't seem to recall.
Hello there. Sorry for disturbing you, but I couldn't help but notice you were discussing the Phantom Weasel. We're actually quite interested in this topic as well, but we're struggling to get to the bottom of it. Do you think...
You've come to the right people. Yep, I was there. He was a great magician. The best trick I ever saw him do was pop a transparent balloon, only for a whole bunch of doves to... I was right up close and didn't blink or look away once. But for the life of me, I still don't have the...
I saw him perform too. He always used to bring some gifts along for the kids who came to watch his show, and he'd hand them out after he would... Sometimes, he even got the kids to write their wishes down, and then he'd make the items on the wish list appear in his next show.
He doesn't sound like such a bad guy.
But after he died, there were also rumors that he used the wish list to find out what was precious to people, with the intent to... As I'm sure you know, the Phantom Weasel would steal just about anything.
Whatever the case, now that the weasel is back, Caesar's become a hot... I bet Gemma must be pleased. If Caesar's name gets cleared, maybe it'll finally give her some solace after all this time. No, speak of the devil. That's her over there. If you've got any more questions about Caesar, she's definitely the one to ask.
So that's Gemma. Is it just Paimon, or does it look like... Wait. It looks like she's in...
Nossa. Já tem minhas teorias aqui, mas vamos guardar e assistir ao mesmo tempo.
Hi there. You're Gemma, right?
Who's asking?
Don't be afraid, we mean no harm. It looks like you're injured.
Thanks for your concern, but you didn't answer my question.
My name is Lyney, and this is my sister Lynette.
My name's Paimon, and this here's the Traveler. We're in
The Weasel posted a warning letter this morning. If he still lives, that means that Caesar was falsely accused. You knew Caesar better than anyone else. So if you're willing, we'd love to hear what you think about all this. I promise you can trust us. We won't hurt you. In fact, we'll do all we can to keep you safe.
Taca nos raios, moça.
I
Vamos...
never believed that he was the Weasel.
I suspected as much. Okay, so going back 10 years, do you remember anything strange in the weeks?
No, not that I know of.
Got it. All right.
If you don't have any more questions, please leave. I want to be alone with him.
Lynette, você tem algo em mente que eu sei, pode falar.
Judging by the look on her face,
Ela
there's
acabou de ser atingida pelo
definitely
raio.
something fishy.
Ela morreu.
She's lying. She definitely knows something.
Talvez ela não confie em nós.
That's fair. We're just a bunch of strangers who showed up and started questioning her about things that happened a whole decade. In any case, I doubt we'll get any further here, so let's call it a day. Meet me outside Hotel de Boer tomorrow, and then we'll start the next step of our plan.
Ok. Espera até amanhã, às 8h12. Ela morreu. Fazer o quê? Olha, não tá nem mais ali. Eu tô falando, ela foi atingida pelo raio e morreu. Ela foi de base. Olha como ela caminha.
Over here.
Por ali, vocês viram. Ele disse por ali.
Lynette's not joining us today?
I've had her follow Gemma and see if we can make any inroads with her. They should be at a cafe right now.
Eles são fatores, afinal de contas.
I don't think that Gemma's likely to open up to us. So,
O que
we
faremos
need a
então?
contingency plan.
Por onde começamos?
Today, we'll be looking into a guy named Lorenzo, Caesar's former pupil, and when Caesar passed away, all the stolen goods discovered in his home were confiscated and returned to their rightful owners. But Lorenzo was the only one privy to... Before long, Lorenzo was the next big magician in town, his fame surpassing even that of his master, and it made him very wealthy. He's since left the magic scene, though, and these days, he's a wealth... I had to pull a lot of strings, but I managed to get him to agree to a couple of drinks with me. Be warned, though, I hear...
Pavio curto, vixe. Então ele vai fazer cabum. Esse lugarzinho é muito
Neglected
bonito.
to mention that you were bringing 2 other people with you.
My apologies. These 2 are my assistants. When they heard that I was meeting with the former magic maestro himself, they begged and pleaded with me to bring them along. And if it's no trouble, a couple of autographs would really make their day.
Oh, forget the pleasantries, just sit.
Ai, ai. Ignorante, não quero seu autógrafo, não. Pode ficar com você.
Get a load of this guy. Forget the pleasantries, he says, but...
I only agreed to meet since we're both magicians. Do me a favor and cut to the chase. I have more important things to do than drinking.
Much obliged, sir. As it happens, the matter I want to address is also related to magic. Yesterday morning, a warning letter from the Phantom Weasel appeared on the entrance to the Opera House. He claims to be planning something for the same evening that I'm scheduled to do a magic show there. As such, I have to get to the bottom of this to ensure that my show can go ahead as planned. Naturally, any investigation into the Weasel starts with a few questions about Caesar, who...
What is there to investigate? Caesar was the Weasel and he's been dead for 10 years.
Please, sir, no need to get so worked up. I do concede that a copycat is but one possibility.
Possibility? It's a fact, Lyney. Look, my patience is limited, so listen carefully while I'm still willing to put up with you. The Weasel is dead. Period. Everyone knows that, so do yourself a favor and quit this investigation. It'll lead you nowhere. Look, if this affects your magic show in any way, I will personally compensate you for any losses.
Oh, sir, I'm honored, really. But this isn't about finances for me. My pride as a magician is what's at stake here, Lorenzo. Copycat or not, this person has thrown me the gauntlet, and I must meet their challenge head on.
Your pride? Don't mince words with me, boy. Just tell me, what exactly are you seeking to do?
I want to find out the Phantom Weasel's true identity. I have to know for myself what really happened 10 years ago.
What would that accomplish? And what do the events of 10 years ago have to do with you, anyway? Look, you of all people should know that a magician never reveals their secrets. And in any case, dead men don't talk. So if you really care...
Uh-oh. This is getting up.
Renzo? Is that? Oh, it is you! I know that big...
Another day, I'm busy.
Oh, come on! You can't be all business all the time. Yeah.
If I wanted your life advice, I'd ask for it. Now get out of my face and go be drunk.
Sorry, my good sir. I don't believe I've...
Oh, hey! Ed, this is your first time meeting him? Oh, he's always like this.
Shut up and get out of my face. Another word out of you and you can forget about doing business with me ever again.
Sorry, I may have had a little too much to drink.
I think it's high time I made a move as well. If you really want to investigate this, Lyney, be my guest. But if nothing good comes of it, don't say I didn't warn you.
Well, that fell to pieces in a rather spectacular fashion.
Achei um pouquinho estranho, mas eu esperava que você tinha um segundo plano em mente, né? Lyney, você apresentou muito, assim, no início, falou, eu sou aquilo, sou fatu e tal, sei lá o que, eu sou muito capaz de fazer grandes coisas. E agora você tá me dando nada. Tu vai levar uma mãozada, hein? Eu vou querer divórcio.
I think so too. We need to look into Lorenzo more closely. That guy Edmondo seems to know a thing or two about him. He only just left.
Você tá botando os bofs pra fora no jardim?
Who are you? Oh, it's you guys. Don't worry about me. I must have had one too many. I just need to ride it out. I say way too much back there, didn't I? Yeah, I nearly talked myself into complete financial ruin. No.
So, he was serious about threatening to cut you off?
Hey! Don't go prying into Lorenzo's personal affairs. Bad things happen to people who ask too many questions. Or make an enemy out of him.
What kind of...
Don't even ask. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to cut this conversation short. I'm not crossing that. And take it from me, trouble with Lorenzo is one thing you don't need in your life. You some flare up back there. I don't know what you... That's not a good sign. You're too young for...
E sou mais velho que você. Você achando que eu tenho cara o quê? De 15 anos, é?
There he goes. What do we do now, Lyney?
Shh. I think we're being watched.
Ai, gente, me veio até um susto, parecia um jump scare ali no fundo.
Don't say anything and don't look back. Any altercation in the city will attract the guards.
Pô, 900 quilômetros de distância? Você foi longe, hein? Pegou o ônibus e eles vieram o quê? Nadando? Subiram no ônibus junto com a gente, daí ficamos nos olhando um pro outro.
You followed us a long way. Why don't you come out and introduce yourselves?
Vixe.
So you're Lyney. And where's your sister? Ain't she? Save us the trouble and go fetch her for us. Let's not drag this out.
Paimon doesn't like the tone of your voice, mister! Who sent you, huh?
Paimon atrás de
Save
mim.
your questions, missy. You ain't gonna need answers where you're going. Capiche?
Essa gente sempre acha que pode sair na porrada com a gente.
Now, I'm not the strongest fighter, so I hope you're ready to back me up.
Você é o melhor da minha comp, meu
Don't
bem.
worry, we got this!
Ou se nós aguentamos. Você queria uma Lynette?
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
Calma aí, fiz bosta. Eu achei que eu tava com a Lynette equipada. Não sei jogar com a Lynette. Fazendo qualquer coisa que dê na cabeça. Vai todo mundo tomar. Como goaba. Tô basicamente dando um hit kill, né? Adorei. Se eu acertasse o tiro, bicho ruim de mira.
Curses. They're tougher than we thought.
Você tá lutando com a porra de um fatu e vai
Vision
substituir o
wielders are always
arlequino.
trouble.
E alguém que derrotou
Intimidation ain't
vários
gonna work
deles,
like
né?
it did on the lady.
Come on, let's scram!
Hey, wise guys! We ain't through with you yet! Oh, they got away! Did you catch what they said just before they left? Sounds like they just wanted to rough us up as a scare tactic. And they've already done it to someone else, but who?
Será que foi a
You're
Jean?
right. She was injured when we saw her yesterday, and she acted like she had something to hide. Maybe she was too scared to tell us the truth.
Well, if that's the case, she should be more willing to open up to us once she learns that those thugs won't be bothering. Let's head back to the cafe and see if we can get any information from her.
É pra já. Oxe, ela já tá aqui batendo papo. Tá bom, chazinho. Que maravilhoso.
Gemma?
You again. What is it?
We just ran into the men who've been threatening you, and we gave them a taste of their own necks, so you can...
What? Why? I didn't tell you anything. Why would they come after you?
Eita.
Sounds like they're no strangers to you.
That's putting it mildly. I know them all too well, and I hate them with every fiber of my being. It's been 10 long years, and still every time I try to look into Caesar's death, they show up and warn me not to do anything stupid. How do I know I can trust you? Do you really think you can get to the—
I'm afraid I can't reveal all the details just yet, but I can promise you this. I will expose the Phantom Weasel's true identity. Because you see, this is a personal matter of the utmost importance. I give you my word. Trust me.
Tá falando que você era fator no tribunal, mas ok.
How can I help you?
I've heard that Caesar used to have a magic workshop where he kept a lot of his personal effects. Do you know where it is?
The Fleuve Cendre. But the place was sealed up by the police after his death, and I also know that the Fleuve Cendre is dangerous territory. Lots of hostile groups lurking around. If you're serious—
Understood. Lynette, you stay here and take care of Gemma. Don't let her come to harm.
Got it. But if I'm staying here, I'm ordering dessert.
I mean, bon appetit. But stay sharp, too.
Okay. Alright. Power saving mode off. I'll start taking this more seriously now.
Eu amo ela imitando robô. Ai, cai na água de merda. Sai da água, Lynette. Lá tem cocôs boiando.
If Gemma gave us the right location, then the workshop should be right nearby. Huh. Looks like these boxes are blocked. There we go. It should be just down here.
Ok, nossa, que lugar interessante. Um riozinho pra tomar banho, delícia. Esse narizinho tudo meio escondido pra você não achar nada. Oh, no entanto, esse domínio de 3 km. Tá.
So this was Caesar's workshop. Nothing suspicious here, just normal magic props. Let's head in further. What was that? Oh, is this one of Caesar's gadgets? Guess we must have triggered some sort of device.
Tá bom. Deixa eu ver se não tem nada aqui.
Teamwork is dreamwork!
Whoa. Look. The doll in the box is glowing.
Ah, elas voam.
There's something written on the card on this doll. Let's take a closer look.
Muito suspeito. Dá vontade bem de leve de se jogar num buraco aleatório.
That's weird. Have we reached the end already? There's
Claro que
nothing
não.
here. Maybe this was a wasted trip.
Lyney aqui está olhando.
This place seems a little too ordinary for a magician's workshop. There's a distinct lack of mystery. We've triggered quite a few devices on the way here. I'm starting to wonder whether Caesar built this whole place as one. If so, then there must be more to this place than meets the eye. Maybe a hidden room some... Aha! If I just move this book, then hopefully...
Magic.
A secret passageway! How did you...
I'm a magician too, and apparently great minds really do think alike. Looks pretty big inside. Let's head.
Lá vamos, já vi o baúzinho, hein? Lindei.
Why have you stopped, Lyney?
It just looks familiar somehow. Let me check this out for a second while you guys go on ahead. If anyone makes a major discovery, let's rendezvous here.
Alright, see ya!
Se você meter uma de desaparecer, tô de olho,
The
hein?
placement of this device inside.
E se eu puxar essa alavanca? Bobiei, não era pra fazer isso.
Wow! There's a hidden room here! Let's see! Oh, this bookcase is full of Caesar's own notes! He wrote a lot about the principles of magic. This book's thick as a brick! Let's take a...
Ai ai, sobre lista de
At one of my
desejos.
shows a few days ago, a child asked me how I pulled candy out of my... As a joke, I told the kid that the hat has a built-in wish-granting machine. Next thing I know, today... So I told them another white lie. The machine needs time to power up, but in the meantime, you can write your wishes down. Well, they took me up on that offer, enthusiastically. As I write this, I've only just got back from running around all over town. I wound up saving very little this month, but that's not a major issue. I now have a bigger problem. How am I going to hide all these things inside my hat?
Ah, sobre crianças estudando mágica.
2 children came to talk to me after today's show. I don't know why they were out on their own. They looked much too young to be unsupervised. I do hope they got home safely. Anyway, they said that they wanted me to teach them how to do magic. It's not uncommon for children to ask. I told them that learning magic is very hard work. But that didn't faze them at all. It's like they already knew.
Sobre os problemas de Lorenzo.
It seems like something's bothering Lorenzo lately. But he won't open up to me about it. Surely he's not upset that I agreed to teach those 2 children. I'll have to talk him around. I have a good feeling about those kids. They're naturally talented, and it seems like they're not new to the world of magic. They have all sorts of fantastic ideas. All I'm really doing is helping them develop a more professional stand. They wanted to call me master, but I told them they absolutely mustn't. Any magician worth their salt could have taught them what I have. They're the geniuses here. Compared to them, I don't with time. I have no doubt that they could become far greater magicians than I. My only concern is why they're so mature for their age. I fear
Oh, as duas crianças são Lyney e Lynette, agora eu me toquei.
Must have been through. Gemma thinks so too. She doesn't like being around them. Says that their eyes are too piercing. They don't bother me, but then again, I've never been the sharpest tool in the shed.
Ah, sobre
It's nearly time
despedida.
for me to go on tour. I asked the 2 kids if they'd like to come with me, but they shook their heads.
Por isso eles estavam
I
todos
once
terminados,
overheard
eles
them
não tinham que
talking about
perder.
their father and their mission. Sounds like their parents have other plans for
Viu,
them.
são eles mesmo, o pai
Guess we'll be
arlenquino.
parting ways soon. It's only been 10 days since I first met them, but I think that I've gotten a feel for... They're very tough, but also very cautious, and they trust no one but each other. This, I fear, is not... They hide things from me too. For example, when I ask them where... That's the thing about children. Whenever they're trying to cover something up, I can sense that their lives have been hard. Possibly even dangerous, too. Then, after thinking things over, I decided to tell them a bit about how I see the world. It's P.S.
I hope they won't find my nagging annoying. Children are so opinionated nowadays. Will it do them more harm than good for someone they've only known? PPS. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Children aren't interested in grand philosophies. It probably just went in one ear and out the other. Oh, Caesar, Caesar. Just mind your own business next.
Parar de ler.
Two magic geniuses with a father and a mission, huh?
Pai, mas não adianta fazer, eu
Sounds
já
a lot
sei
like
que
he
é.
was writing about Lyney and Lynette, don't you think?
Não, jamais. Muito distante.
So did they meet Caesar when they were kids?
Eu sei do seu segredo, Lyney. Eu tô olhando pra aquele caixão até agora.
Shh, hold that thought. As I...
Fishy?
All in good time. Before we go over our new leads, I want to tell you first, the magician slots themselves into a magic box in full view of the audience. The box is then suspended. At this point, a dummy will fall out of the box, but it looks real enough to grab the audience's attention, and Meanwhile, the real magician, who has by now blended into the crowd, waits for a good moment to make their appearance and put on a hysterical performance. Oh no! Is that me? Did I just fall to my death?
Very vivid description. Paimon can really picture it.
The audience's gaze then turns to the magician, and by the time they realize what's happened, the dummy has vanished. As if everything that just... Of course, that's just how I think the process should work, theoretically speaking.
Apenas uma hipótese?
The inventor of this trick never performed it successfully. When the box opened, Caesar was the one who fell out, and not the dummy. He fell right to the ground from the highest point of the opera house. And no one else has ever attempted this trick since. My understanding of how it works is just based on what I could gather from his notes, and the
So Caesar's famous high-altitude escape has never been done, huh? Paimon was about to say how cool it would have been to see it in person, but if it's that dangerous... Wait a second. So if a dummy's supposed to drop out of the box, then where does the real magician go?
Glad you asked. That brings us to the secret of... This box right here is the one that Caesar constructed himself to use in the performance. And it's not as simple as it looks. Inside, there's a device that only the magician himself would know about. Once the magician's inside, and the box is lifted up into the air, the audience's view of the box is fixed at a certain... From where they're standing, they have a clear view of the front, sides, and bottom, but the back and the top are now no longer visible. At this point, the magician presses a button inside the box, opening he then escapes through this trapdoor onto the opera house roof, waits for the dummy to fall and distract the audience, and quietly...
That's way simpler than Paimon imagined. Even Paimon...
Well, there's a little more to it than that, of course. The hardest part of this trick is controlling the audience's mood and reactions. There's the falling dummy, the miraculous reappearance, the pompous performing. Maybe the magician would even have themselves tied up before it begins to strengthen the impression that there's no escape. Many days and nights of careful research and painstaking practice would have gone into this, all culminating in a performance just a few minutes long, but one that still manages to transform the shock and grief of a Caesar was a highly accomplished magician.
So, how did it go so wrong? You said you found some fishy stuff here.
I can make a pretty good guess. I looked into the case files. The magic box Caesar was using at the time of his death had the secret button I mentioned positioned on the right-hand side. And, sure enough, he always...
Okay. Nothing suspicious there.
But here's the strange thing. Most of the devices in this workshop have the mechanism on the left-hand side, including this box right here. Which leads me to believe that Caesar was in fact left-handed. Because a magician can't afford to have their most basic habits stand out too much. People naturally focus their attention on the most important, but a magician needs to be able to redirect an audience's attention at will, so as to avoid arousing their suspicion. The essence of magic is getting people to believe a lie. If even the truth raises eyebrows, the falsehoods become all the more... And so, Caesar trained himself to use his right hand to align with his audience's expectations. Great magic always requires sacrifices. But in his most stressful and nerve-wracking moments, and when no one was watching, reflex would kick in and he'd use his left hand. That's why he set his gadgets with the mechanism on his left.
E alguém usou isso contra ele?
Exactly. I think that's likely what happened. Caesar would have been under a lot of time pressure during the escape. He'd have had mere seconds to open the hidden compartment, retrieve the dummy, then open the but I'm sure he was confident. He would have rehearsed countless times to the point where it was second nature. So he opened the compartment, took out the dummy, checked everything was in order, and then went to leave. With his left hand, he reached for the button, and suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. It wasn't there. Much like when you reach for your keys but find your pocket empty, his mind needed a moment to process what was. Instinctively, his left hand would keep feeling around for the missing button, maybe for another second or two. With the stakes being as high as they were, just a 2-second delay cost him everything. The authorities would find nothing suspicious, and
When in reality, someone switched the boxes, and they did it to murder him. But how would they be able to make the switch without being noticed?
It would have to have been someone who knew that he was left-handed, and who could move his props around without arousing suspicion. Isn't that right?
You just couldn't let sleeping dogs lie, could you? There's not a lot of people who'd go to all this trouble for some magician who died 10 years ago. I didn't want to have to do this, you know. Silencing you the hard way just creates more problems for me to deal
Nem
with.
suspeitava, mas
But
tá
I
bom,
gave
né?
you your chance. I hoped you'd do what's good for you and back off like the...
You mean Gemma? So you are the...
Yes, although however stubborn she might be, she was never much of a liability. But you people, you never even knew it, which is why you can't leave this place.
Do you?
Cai dentro, palhaço. Te quebro em 10.
Cue the spotlight!
Cadê minha recarga? Meu Deus, boneca de recarga fodida.
Get out of here! Take cover!
Acho que não acaba nem usando o Lyney, porque esses caras têm 10 de vida e morre tudo rapidinho. Eu errei tudo. Eles focam no boneco. Agora já.
Teamwork is strength! Zip on up! Let the magic be out of the frying pan!
Let's get this show on the road!
Ah, não deu tempo de fazer o voia lá. Ele virou uma carta, eu tô maluco.
Oh, you kids are tough.
Had enough yet, Lorenzo? Your cronies can't help you now. I think it's high time you started talking. And what I'd really like to know is, why did you murder Caesar?
If I had a Mora for every time you said that man's name. Of course you idolized Caesar, everyone else did. But I was the real genius magician. Me! He was just an amateur who did cheap tricks for gullible children. I was the one who made magic into the fine art it is today. The aristocrats doffed their hats to me!
So it was jealousy.
Jealousy. Hatred, more like. I hated Caesar.
Nojo.
All he cared about was his magic. He lived and breathed it. He poured everything into his street performances and his stupid tours like it was just a hobby to him, never bothering to think about Mora. What sort of fool but the people loved him, didn't they? Oh, how they looked up to him. No one gave me a second look. Amazing. Yeah, so amazing that he was completely broke. Every other apprentice was living it up at their master's expense, but no, not me. I put in all the work, mastered all the skills, and it brought me nothing more than the life I
Por
already
isso que você
had.
matou ele? Por que você não foi embora?
He forbade me from using magic to trick people out of their Mora. There was nothing he hated, and with his reputation in Fontaine, it was too risky for me to go it alone. As long as he was alive, if I dabbled in my own brand, I had to kill him. There was no other way.
And this was your only motive?
It was reason enough. What other motive?
Well, I was under the impression that there might have been other factors at play. For instance, maybe you were in love with Gemma, but she was engaged to Caesar.
In love with Gemma? Don't be ridiculous.
Eita.
Guess I was wrong about that then. Next question. Are you the Phantom Weasel?
I am. Caesar was so strict with me. He insisted that his way was the right way. I never bought into any of that. I was more interested in the practical value of magic. Sure enough, it helped me fill my pockets with all kinds of valuable treasures.
Dizem que a Doninha Fantasma não diferenciava entre ricos e pobres.
I stole cheap things as a way of practicing my craft. It was other people's overactive imaginations that conjured up the preposterous image they then dubbed the Phantom Weasel.
So, that's the story, huh? Well, I hope you're ready to tell it all over again
What choice do I have? You're a pack of wolves, and you've got me between your jaws. I've enjoyed power and wealth for the last 10 years, the likes of which Caesar could never give me.
Very well. Traveler, Paimon, keep an eye on Lorenzo.
Ok. Otário. Chupa, chora. Pode chorar, seu pedacinho de... Cadeira.
At least I can finally
Looks like it's all over. What should we do next, Lyney? Should we start preparing for your show?
Let me think. Let's rendezvous with Lynette and Gemma first. With Lorenzo in custody, Gemma will no longer have to fear for her safety.
Good point. We should go tell Gemma the good news right away.
Ah, you're back. You were so quick. I've only just finished my third dessert.
Meu
Your
Deus.
third? Lynette, come on, we've talked about this. Everything in moderation. You're not gonna have any room left for dinner now.
That's fine. I'll shift to exercise mode and jog off the excess sugar.
That's besides the point. Well, it's done now. But try to eat a more balanced diet in the future.
Point taken.
Did everything go okay?
Of course. Lorenzo was no match for us. The guards are taking him into custody as we speak.
Gosh, that's amazing. I'm sorry, I still didn't know if I could trust you, but now it seems I can. I had my suspicions about Lorenzo, but
It's okay, we understand. He did threaten you. Paimon would fight, but you don't need to be scared anymore.
Sorry. I always wanted to report Lorenzo. He took all of Caesar's property, which I found suspicious. But I had people watching me all the time, so I couldn't risk looking into it. I was so afraid. I was scared he'd do something terrible to me, and then no one would be left to visit Caesar's grave. So I never had the courage to speak out. Thank you all. Truly. Thank you so much.
Seguindo a sugestão do Lyney, todos vão para o cemitério para anunciar a apreensão do Lorenzo e uma pequena memorial é feito para César.
Thank you all for clearing Caesar's name. I never would have guessed that Lorenzo was the real Phantom Weasel. He never showed any signs that there were problems between him and Caesar in public. From the outside, it looked like they got along. And to think that lowlife's been living life to the fullest all this time. At least his soul can finally rest in peace now.
If only I'd realized before it was too late.
Don't blame yourself, Gemma.
Yeah, you still have the rest of your life to live. Caesar...
Cheer up, Gemma. My brother's doing a magic show at the Opera House tomorrow evening. Would you like to come up? This show will be a special one. We're holding it in Caesar's honor.
In Caesar's honor? Thank you.
Aww.
I'll be there.
Great. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Traveler, Paimon, don't be late.
Don't worry, we'll be there. No way are we gonna miss out on a free magic show. Wait, Paimon feels like we're forgetting something. Oh yeah, Caesar's diary! We never found out if the two kids...
Óbvio que são as duas crianças, pai. Pelo amor de Deus. Olha a imersão, mais uma vez, como sempre. Glória. Sempre, imersão 10. Nossa, eu achei, hein?
Paimon's excited to see another of Lyney's magic shows!
Ué,
wait. Lynette, shouldn't you be asleep by now?
Not this time. My brother's going solo today. So, I'll be watching with you.
Aw.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody's ready because the show is about to begin. The great magician Lyney has prepared a spectacular show for us all tonight.
Wow!
Thank you all so much for coming. Now, prepare to...
Lyney começa a apresentar com grande habilidade.
Exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yes, it's just... It reminds me of him.
No wonder. Caesar was a famous so how did you two first meet, Gemma?
Well, I was out on the street once, and I saw him performing for little children. Children love magic, because they're willing to believe in things that can't be rationally explained. Caesar had this amazing way of bringing them into a dreamlike world. And somehow, I felt drawn to him too.
Aw, that sounds so romantic.
It was with a flower. He took it in his hand, snapped his fingers, and it magically appeared on my head. I was so happy that day. No one had ever given me a flower before that.
Oh, that's so cute! Actually, now that you mention it, Lyney's done that one before.
Acho que apaixonei.
Is that right? Then I suppose he's a romantic at heart, just like Caesar. After all, you never know when the people dearest to you might be gone.
That's right. It's all over now.
Oh.
Paimon doesn't really know how to comfort you, but at the...
Right. Yes, you can breathe easy now. Phantom Weasel.
See? Even Lynette says... Wait, what? The Phantom Weasel?
Okay.
Lorenzo escaped? Where is he?
What do you mean, Phantom Weasel?
As Lyney once said, a performer's job is to commit fully to their role and put on a flawless performance for their audience. But once the bag of tricks is empty and the curtain falls, it's time to end the show. The spotlight is no place for someone with no more cards up their sleeve. It's been 10 years, Gemma. Aren't you tired of the grieving widow act? I think it's time to put an end to it.
What are you talking about? Paimon doesn't like this riddle. Traveler, Paimon doesn't like where this is going. Come on, say something!
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all enjoying the performance so far. There will now be a brief intermission, after which Lyney will perform the most electrifying act of tonight's show. The
Tá, agora volta pra fofoca ali.
The final performance will take place outside of the Opera House.
The Phantom Weasel never did like public places, did they? Don't worry, this place will be quiet soon.
Gente, babado. Calma, eu quero mais babado. Devolve-me, babado. Me dê a fofoca completa, pela metade não dá não. Oxi. Vamos contar a fofoca, vamos. Fica com essa carinha de apreensiva.
Dear me,
Nossa.
This is awkward, isn't it? And unfortunately, I'm all out of gadgets, so I'm afraid this is a big mistake for a magician to make. But thankfully, I do have a backup plan. Now, who wants to hear a story?
Lyney? Don't we have more to address right now? Lynette accused Gemma of being the real Phantom Weasel a moment ago. going on?
All in good time. Magicians are good at guessing what people are thinking. I know the questions you want to ask. And as it happens, the story I'm about to tell might answer a few of them.
Really? Well then, let's hear it!
É, conta logo fofoca. Eu quero fofoca.
Let's go back to the very beginning. A decade ago, when the Phantom Weasel was terrorizing the court of Fontaine. She never missed a target, never left a trace, and no treasure was safe from her thieving hand. But as her infamy grew, so did the readiness of the police, and her opportunities to act became ever fewer. Every day, she ran the risk of being exposed for who she was. Of course, she could not simply take this lying down, and before long, she found her ticket to freedom. She would create a scapegoat, a false weasel to close the chapter on her behalf. After weighing her options, she set her sights on a renowned magician, Caesar. After all, magic and theft shared enough similarities for people to buy the story when the truth came out.
So then what?
Being the master deceiver she was, the weasel easily earned Caesar's trust. Now, all that remained was to frame him for her countless crimes. But as she was considering how to make her move, she noticed Caesar's aggrieved pupil, and a new thought entered her mind. Maybe I don't need to get my hands dirty after all. At her encouragement, Lorenzo tampered with Caesar's magic box, causing him to fall to his death. Afterwards, Lorenzo seized his master's property, and the weasel set about tarnishing Caesar's reputation. Two co-conspirators committed the perfect crime.
I've got to hand it to you. You're both exceptional storytellers. It's enough to make even me wonder whether there was really another mastermind behind all this, pulling the strings. But I just have one question. You seem to think that I am the villain in this tale. What's brought this on, Lyney? Is it something that Lorenzo said?
Don't worry, Lorenzo said nothing at all. But I never believed that he was the weasel, and in fact, my investigation only made me more certain of that. He was too forthcoming with his confession, as if there was something else he was trying to hide.
How disappointing. So you'd sooner trust Lorenzo than me? Even without a shred of evidence?
A magician is an expert at playing the audience to get the result they want. And I have no doubt that you, Gemma, are equally talented in this regard. With a little help from Lorenzo, you put on a very convincing performance. The lovesick fiancé, whose devotion to her betrothed is unshakable, even under threats of violence. Caesar was maligned and hated by all for 10 years, but you? Everyone sympathized with your plight. Who would suspect for 1 second that the lovely young lady always seen weeping in front of Caesar's grave was actually the mastermind behind his demise? No, not that poor lady. Perish the thought.
Wait, so you mean the whole intimidation thing was just a hoax? Gemma and Lorenzo were both in on it? But why would Lorenzo agree to that? And why didn't he sell her out, even at the end, instead of admitting to being the weasel?
Yes, why indeed? Maybe Gemma herself could enlighten us on that question.
Well, Lyney, if you're so confident in your version of events, then I think the answer should be obvious. Having killed Caesar with his own hands, Lorenzo was plagued by overwhelming guilt. Revealing the Phantom Weasel's true identity would serve no purpose. But if the weasel remained free, then she could take care of Lorenzo's loved ones.
An excellent answer, though sadly a little dull.
Is that right? Well, don't let me bore you. If you'd care to change the topic to something more interesting, I'd be much obliged.
As a matter of fact, there's one thing I'd really like to understand. Why would the real weasel have targeted things that only have value to other people? Could you shed any light on that?
Of course. After all, we're just telling stories here, aren't we? If I had to guess, I would say that the real weasel must have had a terrible childhood. Left to fend for herself after her parents died young. Betrayed, scorned, beaten. She'd scrounge waste paper from garbage bins to draw on, using twigs and dirt for lack of ink and pen. She'd sew ugly ragdolls from whatever scrap material she could get her hands on. This was her only source of happiness in life. But it was all she needed, and she was content. Until the world decided that even this was too good for her. Once again, she was betrayed. And this time, everything was taken from her. She felt like life was a miry pit that dragged her further down the more she... This was a fate too cruel for anyone to bear. Her pain became a breeding ground for dark thoughts. Thoughts which festered and grew into a twisted solution to her troubles. I detest the happiness of others, in all its forms alike. I will rob them of everything they hold to be good and true. And it will fill the void in my soul.
That's some pretty heavy stuff.
Now it all makes sense.
Does this story satisfy you, Lyney?
Yes, it is quite to my tastes. Thank you for helping to clear up my confusion.
Então a carta de 3 dias atrás.
That's right! What drove you to write that letter, Gemma? What were you trying to achieve there? Because without that, none of this would have ever come to light.
She didn't write the letter.
After 10 long years, I'd hoped that the Phantom Weasel would be consigned to the history books by now. But Lyney, or should I call you the Phantom Copycat now? You were the one who posted that letter outside the Opera House.
Eu queria investigar, eu só queria uma dispensazinha assim. Levantar a atenção de todo mundo que estava envolvido.
Very sharp, Phantom Weasel. Still as shrewd as ever.
Eu sabia que a carta era o intencional dele desde o início, mas eu achava que era por outro motivo, que era para te promover o show dele.
The most straightforward way to change the public's impression of Caesar was to force the Weasel to show themselves.
That's it? You had no other agenda?
Of course we did. We made it quite clear in the letter, I believe. I shall take from you that which you hold most dear, just as you did to me 10 years ago.
10 years ago? You mean Caesar's death? You met him? Wait. Oh, I get it. You were those 2 obnoxious kids. It's been so long, and you're all grown up now. I didn't recognize you. He taught you magic back then, didn't he? For what, 10 days or something? And you went...
We remember all our debts, however great or small. 10 years ago, Caesar's reputation was torn to shreds, and his legacy was thrown out. 10 years on, and no one cares what the truth is anymore. But we did not forget. And so we came to find you.
And? What exactly did you take from me? I'm still...
Free? Do you really think so? Caesar once told me that even though the world is filled with lies and falsehoods, we must find our own truth. I think that applies to you too. Truth can take many forms. Prized possessions with nostalgic value, fervent hopes and dreams, and irreplaceable people. Life took many things from you, and those wounds never healed. When they ached unbearably in the dead of night, stealing became your way of numbing the pain.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying that for the last 10 years, you've been living a rather uneventful life. Perhaps that's because you found something other than a life of crime to fill the hole? Back to Lorenzo for a second. He murdered his own master, played along with your act, and took pains to make sure any suspicion would be directed towards him. He knew who you were and the things you'd done, and despite that, he was willing to give everything up for your sake. He's the reason that you haven't felt the compulsion to steal in all these years. You're more than just accomplices in murder. You're the only real friends each other has. So I think you know, deep down, that he is the only truth you have in your life. But that truth is gone now. And I guarantee you,
Congratulations on your freedom, Gemma.
Nossa, ficou
Your
pouquinho
freedom will
pesado.
cost you dearly. From now on, you'll be all alone in a world full of lies and falsehoods. I do.
Gather round, one and all. The time has now come for the amazing Lyney to perform his final act in tonight's show. I'm sure you're all wondering what he has planned for the grand finale. Well,
A high-altitude escape?
Mesmo de 10 anos atrás, o truque que César não concluiu.
I'm sure you all remember the magician Caesar. This was the very trick that led to his fatal fall. After we have now learned that Caesar was wrongly accused, and that the real Weasel has now confessed to their crime.
Guess that's my cue to leave. Whew. I've been practicing this one for ages now, but I'm still a little
Como
nervous.
sempre.
Traveler, Paimon, I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. There may be a lot of people watching tonight, but you alone are my true witnesses.
Lyney, wait. You two hid a lot from Caesar. He went to his grave without ever knowing your secrets. So what about now? Are you an open book? Or are you... You don't have to tell lies to end up isolated and alone. One day, you'll end up exactly where I am today. Maybe then you'll finally understand.
You're wrong. I'm nothing like you.
So,
Like Lyney said, when you're ready, let's head outside.
what about Gemma?
She'll figure out what's best for her soon enough. Oh, and if you'd like to see Lyney after...
Vamos lá. Claro que ele vai ficar bem. É o Lyney. Só que ele vai ser um pouquinho mais ansioso e vai se jogar da caixa junto, tenho certeza.
Magic should be mysterious, surprising, and defy logic. Magic is hard work. Every single movement has to be practiced thousands of times.
It's alright. We're used to that.
We're sorry. You've taught us so much, but we can't tell you the whole truth.
It's okay. Do you still remember what I told you? This world is full of lies and falsehoods. I only hope that one day, you can find your own truth.
What about you? Have you found your truth?
Magic is my truth. I want to perform a magic trick so great that people will always think of me when they talk about it. For a magician, what greater honor could there be?
Look! Behold! Lyney is sealed inside the box. Will he manage to escape? 10 years ago, Caesar attempted this very trick, and it was at this precise moment that...
Watch out!
Mysterious. Surprising. And
Gente,
logic
que arte
defying.
linda!
Isn't that right? This honor belongs to you.
Gente, que arte linda!
I'm just sorry it's a little late.
Did you see that? 1 minute he was falling, and the next, he turned into flowers.
How could he possibly have done that?
How mysterious. I didn't blink once. He just vanished, right in front of my eyes.
What a heart-stopping magic show! This was really worth the trip. Caesar's name has finally been cleared, and Fontaine's new star magician Lyney has fulfilled a wish on his behalf. Oh, I couldn't ask for a better grand finale. It will make a great headline for the Steambird tomorrow.
Podia até esquecer de você, Charlotte.
Looks like everyone really loved Lyney's grand finale.
Apesar de não saberem toda a história.
Paimon doesn't see Lyney anywhere. Where'd he go? Oh, Lynette said he'd be waiting for us at the usual hunt.
No cemitério, quem sabe?
Oh, you mean the one where Caesar's been? Yeah, that's probably it. This whole magic show kinda seems... Alright, let's go look for him.
Mas vamos lá. Que sempre chora.
There's no way we'll be able to see the stars tonight in this weather. Unless I try making the stars
Alguém
appear
quer
anyway.
parar de chorar porque tá ficando difícil. Não é que ele tá ali? Esse temporal tá complicado, né?
Lyney! There you are. Are you alright? Paimon was scared to death when the chain broke. Paimon was sure something had gone horribly wrong.
Magic is a performance art. A magician has to get creative to keep the audience on tenterhooks. That's our job. So I tweaked Caesar's original setup a little to keep it fresh. I was honestly a little nervous during the live performance. The thought of falling, suddenly feeling weightless, seeing the sky and the ground spinning and spinning. Sometimes, I can't help but wonder what Caesar thought in those final moments. Did he regret taking Gemma and Lorenzo on? Or did he believe that it was his own slip-up right until the end?
You know, Paimon's been wanting to ask you about something ever since we were in Caesar's workshop. You learned magic from Caesar once, didn't you? When was that?
After I joined the House of the Hearth. To be honest, Lynette and I had an agenda when we approached him. I told you about my past before, remember? As a young boy, I survived by secretly learning magic from street performers, but I quickly realized that observation alone could only get me so far. What I saw was the polished final performance, but the rigorous training they put in behind the scenes remained invisible to me. I needed to learn how to improve my sleight of hand, hone my misdirection skills, and make niftier props. We were gifted enough that we'd made some progress by ourselves, but without proper guidance from a professional magician, we quickly plateaued.
So that's why you sought Caesar out?
Yes. We figured there was no harm in asking, but it took us by surprise. In all, we only spent 10 short days together, but he was very good to us. By contrast, we hid so many things from him. For instance, when he asked why I wanted to learn magic, I answered, but in truth, there was already a lot more to the story by then. After being taken in by an aristocrat for our magic talent, then betrayed soon after, this was no longer about me doing what I loved. What amazed me was how the lie escaped my lips even as I was hesitating over whether to tell him the truth. Trust is a beautiful thing. Sadly, I'd forgotten how to trust by then.
Lyney.
Não era sua culpa, era algo fora do seu controle.
Still worried about the way I feel? You really are a gentle soul, aren't you? But don't worry, I'm used to it now. From the mansions of the elite to the House of the Hearth, lies and selfishness have followed me and Lynette everywhere we go. After Caesar went on tour, we became busy with our missions. The next we heard of him was that he'd fallen to his death, and was now declared to be the Phantom Weasel. That night, I remembered his smile. But as I lay there, I didn't know what to say to him. To keep secrets is to put up walls. The longer you keep them up, the less you let people in. Then, one day, you look around and realize your life is like an empty auditorium after a show, full of seats once occupied by all the people who left. But I guess that's the price we have to pay. You only realize how much someone really meant to you when you lose them completely. That's why I was so confident this would hurt Gemma. Because I felt it for myself.
Não fique triste, Lyney. Vamos continuar na sua plateia.
Yeah, cheer up, Lyney. We've had to say our fair share of goodbyes during our journey too. But delicious food, fun toys, and the traveler by my side. Paimon just needs to focus on things like this, and all the unhappy stuff goes right out the window. You know, Traveler, doesn't that kind of make you Paimon's truth?
Exactly. It's the same for me and Lynette. We are the truest thing each other has in the world, and life has taken plenty from us like it did from Gemma. But at least it left us with each other. That's why the darkness never consumed me, and why it never will. Maybe we live in the shadows too, but we remember every precious ray of light that shines through. All right, time to lighten this conversation up a little. What did you think of the show tonight? Were you happy with it?
It was amazing! Paimon just wishes we hadn't been so distracted with the Gemma situation. We spent most of our time in the Opera House just talking and pretty much missed the entire first half of the show. Lyney, could you do just one more trick for us?
Whoa, that's a bit of a tall order, I'm afraid. The show's just finished, so my sleeves are decidedly card-free right now.
Aw, come on! Surely you can think of something.
Oh, all right then. I'll give it a go, but only because it's you. Watch closely. I have a flower in my hand.
You liar! There's nothing in your hand! You're not going along with this?
Huh? My goodness, you're right. But I could have sworn I brought one here with me. Okay, try this. Count down with me. 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
Now, have another look around. Maybe the flowers appeared somewhere else.
Really? Let's see.
There you go.
Wow, there it is! Oh, this is a different flower from the last time, right? This one's called, a rainbow rose. But more importantly, Paimon has to know how the trick is done, please!
Well, if you want to learn magic, you'll have to start by addressing me as teacher.
Fine!
Since you asked so nicely, I'll share one little tip with you. Namely, the student of magic cannot solely rely on others being prepared to reveal their secrets. You have to observe, think, and find the answers for yourself.
Is that it?
Look at the time. We shouldn't linger here too long. Thanks again for coming to see my show. I bid you both good night. I look forward to seeing you again.
Alright, fine. See ya! Shall we head back now too?
Vamos.
Paimon can't wait to read the Steambird tomorrow. Paimon, let's head to the Steambird's offices tomorrow morning and see what we can find out.
I'm very sorry, Charlotte, but my sister and I are quite busy today.
Oh, please, Lyney, I'll only take a moment of your time. If you would be so...
Huh? What's happening here?
I spent all night writing my piece about the Phantom Weasel, and it was going to go to... But just as dawn broke, I suddenly received news that Caesar's fiancée, Gemma, had contacted the guards and confessed to having been the real Phantom Weasel.
That was quick.
Paimon.
Too late, bro.
Ooh, that was quick, you say? It sounds like I've got some catching up to do. Aha! My instincts did not lead me astray. You do have something to hide. Gemma turning herself in must have something to do with Lyney's performance last...
Maybe watching my high-altitude escape trick reminded her of a better time with Caesar, and she could no longer ignore the voice...
Huh. Okay, then. Wait, no, there must be more to it. If that's all it took for her to have a change of heart, how did it take her 10 whole years?
What?
Espírito jornalístico de Charlotte está
I remember
tímido.
now. You and Gemma were nowhere to be found after the show. What happened between you? Quickfire question. Where did you all go after the show?
Oh, we went to the cemetery and Lyney did a private magic trick just for us. Actually, glad you mentioned it, because that reminds Paimon, guess what? Lyney started using rainbow roses in his tricks.
What? I don't recall ever having received a ring.
Hey, Vixe!
Oh, did Paimon... This is getting pretty awkward. What do we do, Traveler?
Seems like this interview wasn't meant to be. Well, never mind. There's always next. Forgive my persistence, but when there's explosive news waiting to be found, I can't turn away. The news about Gemma has already made waves. Apparently, one of the things she said to the guards was that her final wish is to see Lorenzo one last time. There's clearly a web of complicated relationships there. All right, I guess I'll leave you to continue the rest.
Lynette? Paimon...
Don't worry, I wasn't angry. I was just...
Oh, really?
You and me both, Paimon. You and me both. At least it did the job, right?
Please, take good care of that rainbow rose. I'd be really upset if you lost it.
O ladrão esquecido. Ai, muito fofinho. Bem, em geral, vamos lá. Esse episódio vai ficando por aqui. Ficou muito grande, 2 partes. Eu não esperava que a quest dele de novo fosse ficar tão longa. Eu espero sinceramente que vocês estejam gostando. Dá aquele like, deixa aquele comentário, porque isso ajuda muito, sério. Dá aquela incentivadazinha no meu esforço. Aproveita, se você é novo aqui no canal, ou se não é inscrito, se inscreve e ativa o sininho para não perder nenhuma notificação. Pelo menos assim você não perde nada. E, bem, já aproveita e clica em todos os cardzinhos que estão aparecendo agora. Vai lá assistir outro vídeo. Temos playlist também com todas as séries já feitas. E, bem, eu sou o Edson e até a próxima.